Welcome to our Wednesday meditation service. Jack and I got into the work by reading about Edgar Cayce, and then we were walking down Broadway and somebody handed us a book. I think it was called There is a River, about Edgar Cayce, and we both read it. I mean, it was like it just changed our lives, so we wanted to find, he was so into getting into meditation, and so we said, was there a center here in New York City? And we found one that was, like on 30th Street, and we walked up and the oldest people on the planet were there, but so friendly and invited us with such warmth. And as we came up those steps, all our generation started coming up. It was like there was the whole surge happening at that time. For the kids were so hungry for the truth and a new way of looking at life. And so we're so dedicated to meditation. The praying was always in the churches, but the meditation was never emphasized in the Methodist church where I brought up. And to me, that's the food, when you sit and you go into the silence and you just get filled with a knowledge that starts to come into you and peace that you've never known before. That's the food, and that's what starts you reading what you're supposed to be guided to read at that time. So we're going to do a call and response. This is to lead us into Jack speaking and then going into meditation. You are in the wind, in each twinkling star. I'll do a little higher. You are all around me. You are never far. And my soul keeps singing. And my soul keeps singing. Oh, divine, all I want is you. 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 You are in the desert. You are in the sea. Dancing in the grasses. Under every tree. And my soul keeps singing, and my soul keeps singing. Oh, divine, all I want is you. Oh, divine, all I want is you. Oh, divine, all I want. Oh, divine, all I want is you. I can feel your presence everywhere I look. I can see you smiling through the eyes of friends. And my soul keeps singing. divine, all I want is you. Oh divine, all I want is you. Oh divine, all I want. Oh divine, all I want is you. You are in the sun. In each flower's bloom. You are in my heart. In this very room. Oh divine, all I want is you. Oh divine, all I want is you. Oh divine, all I want. Oh divine, all I want is you. Is you. I can feel your presence where each pathway bends. You are peeping at me through the eyes of friends. Oh my Lord, all I want is you. Oh divine, all I want is you. Oh divine, all I want. Oh divine, all I want is you.
Good evening, everyone. Several decades ago, there was a television show based upon a science fiction work titled The Martian Chronicles. Some of you may have seen it. It starred Rock Hudson, and he had a family, and the Earth was moving toward war. I mean, serious, annihilating war, nuclear devastation. But they were building a rocket that could get to Mars. And he wound up being able to get onto that rocket with his family, and there were other people on that rocket to Mars. And the one thing that was indicated in the the whole idea of going to Mars was that they didn't want to bring with them the kind of limited thinking that brought this world to chaos and ultimately a war that would annihilate everyone. They wanted to leave that thinking behind when they got to Mars. And it's a really interesting program, beautifully done. When the character Rock Hudson plays and his family get to Mars, they eliminate all the limited ideas that were written down for people in the political systems, and they just burned them. And their hope was to meet a Martian. And it's an incredibly beautiful scene where Rock Hudson is riding this vehicle, this Land Rover type vehicle without a roof, and he meets a Martian the other way, and they try to have a conversation. He's trying to relate to them that they're new arrivals on this planet, and the Martian is trying to relate to him that all the stuff he's saying about destruction doesn't exist. He said, why can't you see these beautiful, the Martian is saying, why can't you see our beautiful buildings and all that we have created in our incredible consciousness and our culture? Can't you see it? Just look out there. It's going on right now, right over and over in this area. Tonight they've got a great celebration going on. And you see, this is the way we live. We celebrate life. And we recognize it in a very meaningful way. We are grateful for it. So this conversation is going on, but Rock Hudson is a scientist, and all he can see is the destruction, pieces of the Martian empire, which was, in his understanding, destroyed. And it's just like fragments of it here and fragments of it there. But the Martian is telling him, no, it's beautiful, it's still here, it's whatever. Anyway, they couldn't see. But as the science fiction story goes, the Martian was living in the past, and Rock Hudson was living in the future, and he came to realize that we had already, that people from Earth had already gotten to Mars and carried on their particular culture in Mars, and over centuries destroyed everything that the Martians built out of gratitude for life. And but this one leftover Martian is living from the ideal. He's never left the ideal. He still can see it. This is something, I'm sure that part of it never reached very many people, that the Martian could still see the Martian culture and empire and beauty based on this gratitude for life and caring for it and being in that awareness. And so we enter into Unity of Boulder in 2025. And of course, I've been here for many years, and many of you have been here as well. And when you hear it said that the life you are living is created by the consciousness of your being. In other words, the things that you believe are outpictured in the types of people, conditions, and circumstances that you meet. And I agree with you, if you're new to this. When I first started this work 40 years ago, I just couldn't wrap my head around that idea. You're telling me that I'm creating the world in which I live. And I couldn't buy it at all. But I was getting information from the Association of Research and Enlightenment, which was the Edgar Cayce Foundation. And most of what we were learning back then came through the Edgar Cayce readings. And they were teaching these truths that were beyond anything I could grasp. I mean, I could understand what they were trying to say. It just did not feel like it was right. But now, over the years, I see it as the foundation for everything I teach. Now, I know it's been abused. In Unity, it has been abused when I was in school. Because when somebody was going through a difficult time, some other rather lofty thinking students would say, well, it's your consciousness, man. It's your consciousness. Which is not the right approach, surely. But it's true. It is one's consciousness that determines the experiences and how one perceives life in general. And so the masters down through the ages have always been attempting to get us to release this conditioned idea and perception of life from the illusion of being a separate body in a world of separate others, having a mind of my own, which I must be very aware to use to gain my personal self-interest. I suspect there's probably people here sitting here tonight saying, well, isn't that what life is really all about? Well, unfortunately, the majority of people still operate from that limited perspective. They haven't tuned in to the ideal of the Martian or the source that spoke through Edgar Cayce. And it's not an easy ideal to bring forth because we've been so long conditioned to the idea of pursuing self-interest and creating defenses to keep ourselves from being embarrassed or hurt or taken over or be, whatever. So we have a distorted awareness through which we perceive life. But that distorted awareness can be transformed. And that's what Unity is all about, helping people do. That statement in the Bible is very true. You can find it in the book of Romans on chapter 12. The apostle says, be not conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewal of your mind, that you can prove what is the good and perfect will of God. The perfect will of God is that we should live free of fear, consternation, conflict, hate, prejudice, even free of limited judgment from the ego's perspective. So, from the ages down through the ages, we've had this opportunity for people that are willing to take to task their own awareness. They can find their way into this higher level of thinking. And it's been done with many illustrations down through the ages. The masters have spoken and still speak. Today we have the modern Course in Miracles. Calling us to something that is the most difficult thing for the ego-centered mind, conditioned to the idea of its personal prowess, its illusion that it is in fact an objective observer of life and is capable of figuring out how to get conditions, people, and circumstances to meet its personal expectations, desires, and demands. That's the world. If you look at it, you'll see that's exactly the outer-directed, illusion-driven world. And the hardest thing for the ego-centered mind is to be quiet, to be still. And this is from A Course in Miracles text, page 533 in the old text. In the new edition, it's on 557. In quietness are all things answered, and is every problem quietly resolved. In conflict, there can be no answer and no resolution, for its purpose is to make no resolution possible, and to ensure no answer will be plain. A problem set in conflict has no answer, for it is seen in different ways, and what would be an answer from one point of view is not an answer in another light. You are in conflict. Thus it must be that you cannot answer anything at all, for conflict has no limited effects. Yet, if God gave an answer, there must be a way in which your problems are resolved, for what He wills already has been done. Therefore, God must have given you a way of reaching to another state of mind, in which the answer is already there. Such is the holy instant. I remember receiving such cogent truth as this back in my early days on the spiritual journey. It just didn't reach me. I couldn't accept it. But over time, I was convinced that one has to practice, one has to take to task his own awareness. One has to, by faith, step out and start to employ these truths in one's expression of life. And only by doing that can one begin to experience the new life in divine awareness. So I'll read this to you again. In quietness are all things answered, and is every problem quietly resolved. How can that be? Because in the initial state of consciousness in which we were born and raised, and there's nothing wrong with that state of consciousness. In other words, that's the initial state of consciousness of everybody being born into the idea of being a physical body. And by virtue of the fact that each person perceives himself as a separate body, it only becomes natural for each person to try to seek to gain from the world what it thinks it will make it happy, to be able to manipulate and gain and go on to have what it wants, and it doesn't have very much regard for how it may affect other people or the world in general. And then we create defenses and defense mechanisms. But that's a natural process. What should happen along the way is we should find that that process never brings self-fulfilling peace. It never brings a feeling of well-being. It never lets me rest or be okay with life and see the beauty of it and the miracle of it. It doesn't do that. Only in quietness, quieting that thinking process that we have lived in and for over so many years, only by being still, quiet, letting that subside, can the core nature of our being, our soul, rise into our awareness and thereby transform our minds and transform what we are looking at. That's the process. In quietness are all things answered, and is every problem quietly resolved. In conflict, there can be no answer and no resolution, for its purpose is to make no resolution possible, and to ensure no answer will be plain. A problem set in conflict has no answer, for it is seen in different ways, and what would be an answer from one ego-centered point of view is not an answer from another ego-centered point of view. The world filled with conflict, anger, resentment, and war is created by the illusion of separation into separate egos, everyone trying to gain his or her own desires, dictates, and demands. That's not in here, by the way, but that's what I'm sharing with you, if you really understand. You are in conflict. You were born in it, raised in it, schooled in it. And now, if you're not happy with your life, or you're beginning to fear things that you don't have any control over, now may be the time for you to start a serious transformation process which requires meditation, which is quieting the illusion-driven mind and allowing the mind of the divine to rise in your own awareness. Yet, if God gave an answer, there must be a way in which your problems are resolved, for what He wills already has been done. Therefore, God must have given you a way of reaching to another state of mind in which the answer is already there. Such is the holy instant. At some point in the Course in Miracles, the Course will say, the holy instant is this instant, and every instant. The one you want it to be, it is. The one you would not have it be is lost to you. Beyond the past and the future, which is where the ego-centered mind is forever dwelling, beyond that thinking, right now, where you are, in this moment, you can find the answer, the happiness, the peace of mind, by allowing the divine truth to be who you are. Not the insane world thinking to be who you are, not the ego-centered, fear-driven self you've lived in to be who you are, but the divine truth of your soul nature, which would mean what? That you come to this place where you recognize everyone is worthy of consideration, forgiveness, love. Right now, I think you may be saying to yourself, that's true. Isn't that exactly what the scriptures are all about? I'm not just talking about the scriptures in the Bible. I'm talking about the Eastern scriptures, the Upanishads, the Bhagavad Gita. All the different scriptures that are true in the world have come to the recognition that we are all interconnected. And what we are giving out in thought is what is appearing in our experience. If everything is part of me, how can I hold loveless thoughts? How can I commit loveless actions unless I believed I am really separate? That's the flaw in our thinking. We were raised in that, educated in the whole idea. There's me, this physical personality, and, if I do certain things to get what I need out of the world, I shouldn't be overly concerned about being inconsiderate or overbearing or judgmental or condemning. I shouldn't be overly considerate about that. What I'm sharing with you is the only religion worth understanding. It is all there is. You can take down the cathedrals, take down all the pomp and circumstances, the robes and the scepters. You can put them all away, sell them, and give the money to the poor, because whatever's taking place in those conditions is not bringing people to the truth of their own divinity and the necessity for people to take to task their thinking and rise into the consciousness of their soul. Is the Course in Miracles alone in speaking this kind of thing? No. All the masters down through the ages have said the same thing. This is modern-day Master Eckhart Tolle. Why would this man... I tell a funny story about Eckhart Tolle because he came into his spiritual awareness because he was a student and he was going on to get a doctorate, and he was a heavy-thinking brain trust who thought you should be able to figure out whatever is needed and bring it forth and help things work out right. But then he saw people that were struggling and had no recourse in how to solve their struggles. He left the whole university life. He couldn't believe, he looked upon all this suffering. Could this be true? Could this be the will of God? Eckhart Tolle left it all. He went and sat on a park bench and visited the parks and sat on the bench, fed the pigeons for 2 years. In that 2 years, he was doing his own, contemplating, meditating, and coming to the truth that you can find in his book, The Power of Now. He wrote The Power of Now and became a spiritual icon character. This is what he wrote in his second book. Listen very carefully to it. This is not coming from intellect. This is coming from the divine awareness we share. This is from Stillness Speaks, his book, page 13 and 14. If you, as in each human being, in you, as in each human being, there is a dimension of consciousness far deeper than thought. It is the very essence of who you are. We may call it presence, awareness, the unconditioned consciousness. In the ancient teachings, it is the Christ within, or your Buddha nature. Finding that dimension frees you and the world from the suffering you inflict on yourself and others when the mind-made little me is all you know and runs your life. Love, joy, creative expression, and lasting inner peace cannot come into your life except through that unconditioned dimension of consciousness. This is from someone who had the life, was on his way to probably making a lot of money as a professor who wrote books and taught people left brain truths that really didn't register to bring any kind of healing or happiness, but that's what takes place in schools throughout the world. And what he is saying is this about all of us. In you, as in each human being, there is a dimension of consciousness far deeper than thought. It is the very essence of who you are. We may call it presence, awareness, the unconditioned consciousness. In the ancient teachings, it is the Christ within, or your Buddha nature. Finding that dimension frees you and the world from the suffering you inflict on yourself and others when the mind made little me, ego-centered thought, ego-centered projection, illusionary idea of separation, there's me and there's all that's not me, I'm the most important thing, I've got to make sure I get my needs met, is all you know and runs your life. Love, joy, creative expansion, and lasting inner peace cannot come into your life except through that unconditioned dimension of consciousness. That's what meditation is for. That's what the practice of the holy pause is for. Because our limited thinking, which was conditioned thinking, conditioned by the unenlightened people who raised us, our unenlightened peers, our unenlightened teachers, who brought us into an illusionary definition of life. And we see life through that illusion. And it is based upon fear, not love. And the only way to find our way back into the healing consciousness that we were born to live in, the consciousness of the divine, is to learn to take to task our own awareness, so that when negative thoughts and judgments rise within us, we don't continue with that, hold other people in derision, hold limited ideas and concerns and want to punish or want to get revenge or have hate in our hearts. We don't do that. Can you imagine the difference between a society that lives in the illusion of separation and fear to a society that lives in the awareness of oneness, forgiveness, healing love, sharing peace? We are called to become that expression. And we do it through spiritual practice. So tonight we're going to practice meditation together. I came nowhere near getting to what I wanted to get to tonight, but that's okay. Begin by taking a couple of deep breaths. As you release the breath, release any cares or concerns that really may be pressing on you. You know, it has happened that people have, in this meditation on Wednesday, flipped the switch and the light went on. And they began this path and received this healing. So with every breath, just release and let go. Thoughts are going to continue to come. Don't fight with your thoughts coming in. Let them come, but let them pass by. Whatever thoughts come into your mind, let them pass by. Like you might be watching a colorless, uninteresting parade, soundless, passing by, not having anything meaningful to watch. Just allowing these thoughts to come while you bring your mind to this truth. Gently focus your mind on this truth. God is love. Love is life. I am God's life. I am. God is love. Love is life. I am God's life. I am one with all I see. God is love. Love is life. I am one with all I see. In this refined level of consciousness, we will offer the names of those that have been submitted to our prayer list. As Norma calls the name, simply maintain the peace of being one with all that's being given.
Am I not on? Okay. Nim Wengdi, Jeannie Pamela Kay, Louis Jordan, Brianna Perrin, Ozzy, Lavinia, Mandel, Burrow, Corey's mom, Thomas, Nick, Timothy Likehouse, Sloth Conservation and Sloths, Thomas and Pete and family, all those suffering, Johnny and Tristan, Eric Harris, Jessica Phillips, Laura Phillips, Mindful of Words, Brittany and Simon, Kyle, Taylor, Robert and family, Healing for the Body, Andrew M., Jonathan, Tad M., Sandy Spahn, Elizabeth, Erica, Jessica, Ezra and Mom, Melanie Noble, Meshechnik, Petra, Miles, Violet, Eris, Lindsay, Sue H., Ron, Amy, Rhea, Billy, Pat, Joel, Jeremy, Jane Goodall, Earth Mother, Edward Inmick, Jimmy Mack, H&H, Loretta, Joanne, John Sanger, body overproducing mast cell and histamines, Ezra and Milani, Nick, Saul, Celeste, Ruth, Sal, Lisa, Michelle, Trudy, Michael, my legal clients, friends, family, women, alcohol, minorities, immigrants, migrants, poor in spirit, poor in finances, Julian, Charlotte, Jen and Willow, Orion, Jean Cooney and daughters, Adrian, Rivers Wilder Green, Rona Newsell, Laura Beard. And you can call out a name if you'd like to do so at this time.
D. Matthew and family, S. Casey and family, S. Daniel and family,
We see this healing light surrounding the prayer box and all the people whose names that have been submitted throughout the month. We see them healed physically, mentally, and spiritually.
Let us take a moment now to embrace the vision of the new heaven in earth, realizing that the transformation in human awareness will bring forth the new heaven in earth. And so we see this transformation taking place in all the people sharing this boulder community with us. And we see this transformation in consciousness taking place in the minds of everyone sharing the state of Colorado with us. And we see this transformation in consciousness taking place in the consciousness of everyone sharing these United States of America with us. And this consciousness spreading throughout all the nations of the world, including all the religions, all the cultures of the world, bringing forth that harmony, healing peace, and wisdom that will lead us to the stars as we pray. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. The presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and God is love. To this we say, Amen. We will take an offering for unity now. And I'd like to speak to all of those that are watching this service online. You're tuning into Unity services because you're seeking those insights that you can use to transform your own life. And you couldn't do anything more appropriate to essentially help that transformation than by giving to support Unity of Boulder. And everyone here can actually bring into their hands that gift they'd like to make this evening to Unity of Boulder. And let's bless these gifts with this offering prayer. Divine love, through me, blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive, because I give. And so it is.
There is so much love around us. If we just open up our heart, it's waiting to come in. It's waiting to come in. There is so much love around us. If we just open up our heart, it's waiting to come in. It's waiting to come in now.
Join me now, please. We dedicate this tithe to the will and the work of the Spirit of truth, the Spirit available to each of us, the Spirit that joins all of us. We dedicate this tithe to the victory of the Spirit of truth. Amen. Well, we have, as usual, some tea and cookies in the bookstore. If you want to stay and chat, just go through these doors to your left into the bookstore. And we hope to see all of you on Sunday at the 9 a.m. or the 11 a.m. service. Have a beautiful evening.